Hello, can you all see this? Say yes. Okay, great. So, this is just a simple example of how to actually use isometric drawing to represent larger scale of objects, buildings, high-rises, clusters of buildings, etc. And of course, you can use it to show how it possibly would appear if you are looking at imagining, let's say, graphics of a building, how would it look like. So, what I would like you to do is now, next about 50 minutes or so, is it possible for you to start at least one complex cluster of buildings. So you look at them as spaces really, and you can actually see that in these examples on the right hand side, you can see some of these spaces which are hollow, while detail it out as much. So what you should do is, can we go on to my can you get the camera on my drawings? Can you see? So I think what you need to do is you actually need to start with where you want the building base to be. So you normally start with the base, right? So you can actually say that this is my building, and you can say 1 square is of a certain unit. It is 10 feet, let's assume. So 20, 30, 40, okay? And 50, I can say 50, right? And this way it can be 10, 20, 30, okay? Then this in isometric, isometric or perspective, the line right in front is generally vertical. If the building, of course, has to be vertical. And you can decide what is the height. That also you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So let's assume it's 140 feet now, okay? And that way, again, this we have taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can look at 5, okay? And then this side is 3, 1, 2, 3. And then that's your basic block of the building. Now, so you can use a scale to do this. And then if you want a cutout here, let's say you want a cutout here, so you can say that this is actually a cutout. The building is like this, okay? And this is not there, this is not there. So your building can look like that. You can also have a cutout here. Will be seen because you are removing this bit, right? Your basic block. Now you can decide where your windows, etc. So you can have a window which can be vertical like that. And this is the other window. There can be this window which can be square later. Bottom, you can actually have a window which is horizontal, or an opening which is horizontal. You can actually show that it's opening. Okay, so when you do that, when you see this wall, that means it's hollow, right? And then you can have more such windows. And I can actually make it like that. This is hollow, so I'll just darken this bit. It's all hollow. Actually, I can have some kind of a graphics here like that. Yeah. Can also have some other element on top if you something which is going up. Because you draw an object in front, the lines at the back will not be seen, right? Okay, so this is just to give you a kind of an idea. You can have another building which is starting, I'm just showing you that. Can be like this. Can go up like that next to it, right? So have you got it? Have you got an idea? Hello. So I would like you to do at least one nice drawing in next about 45-50 minutes. Yes? Okay. So all of you, please, if you can start, and you can do cluster as many buildings as possible. You can detail it out. You can have cutouts like this if you want, right? You can have something else, an element on top. This doesn't have to be the same way. I mean, it can also be different. I mean, if I don't want to make it like this, what I can do is, okay, I can actually have it like this. Yeah. So even those elements can be created with the flow. Course, later on, once you understand and you get a fair idea of how to visualize, how to use this data, you can have buildings with can have many of the slopes like this. Please go ahead and start doing it. If you have any issues, please send a query on the chat, okay? try and spread out your buildings across the entire paper. So you'll have to try and figure out how to basically arrange them. That is part and parcel of being able to visualize the depth and you know locations of various elements. And elements here would be buildings. So you'll have to figure out what is in front, what is at the back. So try and spread it out as much as possible. Okay. Adishri, I saw your drawing that you sent last evening. I think pretty well visualized, and I think you have good clarity in terms of depth, in terms of overlaps, in terms of certain you know ability to configure different forms in space. So it's worked out very well. Great. गलती है the elements is wrong, that's okay. Any one of you who is very fast enough and can do more than one, you are most welcome. One at least minimum, but you can do more than one explorations, okay? Hello. See these? Just did this whatever I drawn, shown you in pencil sketch. I just used a black marker, basically highlight the lines, and then it looks quite different. Also use patterns, etc. Any possible patterns that you want. Here I have this horizontal pattern, like and color it like this, so it becomes more appealing and clear in terms of the lines highlighting the bases and the forms. This is just random. I've just basically done that. When you actually have an idea and you decide what you want to make, then of course you'll have to think about the characteristics of the building, the kind of surfaces, it's a brick, whether it's a stone, that you can detail out later. Can you hear me? Just to basically show how this been noodling using the same grid. Okay. How much of time we have? So have we all come anywhere close to finishing it? Are we close to finishing the first one? Most done. Okay, that's so yeah. Was we need to move on to the next one, the final exploration that we are going to. Okay, very interesting, very nice. Getting a sense of depth, you're getting a sense of placements in terms of how objects like when they are arranged in a particular way, you should be able to see the front and the back. And so this is basically what it does is it actually helps you to clearly visualize your form and space, how do the form and space interact. This from home, this from Adishri. Okay, Adishri, you just need to be careful. On the left hand side, you have a plane at the bottom, right? And that does not have any thickness. So that you may want to consider. So when you draw this, you have to make sure that there's a thickness to it. Because right now it looks like just a simple thin plane. When you have a single line without a thickness, it looks like the paper. It has to have, so all forms will have three-dimensionality. All the other forms work out pretty well. So about those depths of the windows and maybe a swimming pool on top, it looks like. The right hand side, the front building. So yeah, I think we're getting a hang of it. So I think Everybody else, have you all, shall we move on to the next one, please? Can complete this in additional time later and then send it, okay? Yeah. So moving on to the last one, last exploration that we are going. Now this is going to be very close. What you will actually gain to this way or the thing. Okay. So basically, this is something which you have to draw in terms of again using the same grid and use your imagination and try and see how much of complex kind of ideas you can get. Uh, can you go to the next slide? Can you see the slide? Can you see the slide? Yes, okay. So now, so it's the same use of isometric grid. Now it's been used very interestingly to visualize more realistic kind of spaces and forms. So you can see on the left hand side, it's kind of a, interior of a space, possibly a more historic kind of a building, which is crumbling. It's got wooden doors, it's got stones, right? And on the right hand side, you have again a building which actually has got stones predominantly, wood also. So and then of course the tiles on the top, when you see the, pyramidical, roof, that's made out of bricks, or basically the more like tiles, right? So now this is what you can do. So what you do is once you get the blocks right, then you need to make sure that you try and use them in terms of characterizing the material to a great extent. And normally, how it is done is you play with the corners and the contours in a way such that it gives a semblance of reality. So it gives you a fair idea. So whether you're doing visual communication or you're doing game design, uh, this would be even otherwise, any kind of illustration, etc., you want to work out and demonstrate anything which requires to represent space and form and three-dimensionality with some indication of material. So there are no colors used here. But even then, you can very clearly visualize what the materials would be more or less and the kind of form and space feeling that you want to communicate. So this is what we are going to do as a last exploration, and use this as an inspiration. So I hope you get an idea. This, of course, does not show bricks. I can actually very quickly demonstrate how bricks can be drawn. Have the camera on the sheet. So typically, if you see the bricks, we assume that this is the size. So like 1, 2, 3. If I look at 3 inches, so this is 9 inches, 3 blocks, okay. And this way normally it is, I mean, you can half. So it's actually width is about 4.5. So you can use half a square. I'm sure you can make that judgment, okay. That's your brick, one single brick, right? Roughly, that's the kind of proportion which is there. And then, of course, next one is laid out here. Bottom, what you do is you actually take the center of the two bricks, because that's how they actually not put one on top of the other, but they are offset. This is how you do the offset, right? This also becomes an offset. That's the other brick. Similarly, you have a brick coming out on this side. has to be shifted a bit. Right. And then again, this brick will be continuing like this. This will continue like this. Okay. So this, you basically round this off a little bit. Where the bricks are, they're not exactly, perfect corners. They're a bit of rounded off, right? Then you can, of course, the same thing can be also done with stone. So now I just want to do this bricks in. Of course, you only show lines which can be seen. Another thing you can also do with the stones. So stones may be bigger. Of course, you have to draw all the stones with pencil lines and then do this so that you don't really, show. This should not be seen actually. But anyway. I just round it off like that. And little spots like that. Looks like. Yeah. If the stones are not as defined as this, then you can actually use stones are. Of course, there'll be some. Yeah. Is that clear? So, show the previous, the other last slide. One second. Yeah. Can you see the slide? Can you see the slide one with the on the left, which is kind of a diapilated, space? Maybe it's a room, and the next one is again a very oldish, kind of a building. So would you? So this is only for reference for you to get an idea. So you can use your own imagination and do this. Okay. So now we'll have. I will explain it by a little bit. Yeah. So you have about over 1 hour. Okay. At least do one of them. You don't need to do, I mean, to you. This is the, I'm doing this for you to get an idea as to how you could represent realistic spaces and forms. So you can imagine anything which is more architectural space. So you actually have an idea of depth and proportions and scale. So you can do one, and it can be quite different from what I've shown you. But the idea would be to try and use the isometric grid to try and make a realistic representation. Now, I've not shown you is how to draw curves. Let me very quickly show you how to draw curves. So suppose I have this. So this will be a smaller ellipse. This will be a larger ellipse. It will be like this is the center. This is how you can draw curves. Right. So if you want to draw it on top, you use the same principle. You use this as a center, that is a center. And this extends like that. So this actually becomes more this way. This will be a more acute circle, and this will be more generous circle. This is a center of it, right? Then it goes like this. This is when you're drawing it on a vertical plane. This is like when you're doing it on a horizontal plane. Yeah, is that clear? If you want to use it, at the moment you can avoid it. If anybody wants to use kind of an arch or a circle, you're most welcome. But I think I suggest you try and do it with more rectilinear or straight lines, forms which are more or less, you know, using horizontal and vertical lines. Yeah, is that okay? I just thought I'll introduce you to the idea of how to use isometric drawing, how to, for drawing a circle or an arch. Right. So I can actually have an object like this, like a volt. Now I have a box ladder. So I've made a box ladder. So if I cut up the circle here, follow, both sides, and then color it. This is it. So it's darker here. Yeah. Clear? Yes. So please go ahead and just use your imagination and your creativity to visualize any form which more or less uses isometric drawing to depict something that is more realistic. Okay. Yes. Are you all clear? Okay, great. So I think if you have any issue, let me know. Otherwise, we'll go on at least till about 12:35, at least 1 hour. We'll see. We'll have a look at it maybe around 12:15 or so. We'll review it. If need be, we can add another 15 minutes or so. Okay. Okay. So I think have fun and enjoy this and try and get as original an idea as possible. Okay? Yes. Soumya, I'm just looking at your drawing. Very interesting in terms of all the spaces, etc. I think differently laid out. Of course, you managed to also get a sense of, you know, configuring all these different buildings, also layers connecting them with interesting steps. Rather precarious, though. They're all meeting at the edge, which is all right in exploration. I think very nicely done. Uh, somewhere some of the lines are missing, like in the center. Uh, the building, the big, largest building, the windows on the right hand side. If there is a depth to it, then there has to be a line which goes, like the one which at the bottom, that opening has a line which is going inside to the building, right? On the right hand side, large. Same thing, if the windows have to have the depth, then you have to show the depth. It's not there, then maybe a double frame or something like that. So two lines so that it looks like it's a frame. Then it's you can decide whether it's a wooden frame or an aluminum frame or a steel frame. Then it will have. Oh, which pillars are you talking about? Let's see. Put you on to speaker so you can speak. So,
Hello, so am I audible?
Soumya?
So am I audible?
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. So I was talking about the pillars on the like the center
Just 1
portion.
minute. Why is it so low? Can I increase the volume? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So
Yeah.
I was talking about the pillars in the center, those small cubes that I have put around the main center house. For that, like those castles which have a bit of offset on the pillars on top. I was trying to make that, but I could not get the depth. Can you just help out a little with that?
Which building are you talking about?
The center one, which is connecting to the bridge.
Okay. So, what is the question? So, what has
So the
happened?
pillar.
What's
Hmm.
happening? So, those ones which are jetting out those cubes, right? The ones at the far end on the right hand side, they're actually hanging in space.
Yes, that's what I got
So,
confused. They
as
actually
you
wanted
know,
to make that hanging kind of thing.
I had to move one square inside. So when you actually do calculation, when you start drawing it, before you start inking it, so you have to make sure that you calculate it right. So what you have done is you've removed the wall on the right hand side below the those cubes which are jetting out like a castle, right? So that's
Right,
why they look like they're hanging in the space. They don't look like they have any kind of a support at the bottom. So
right.
your wall should have extended instead of removing that wall. It should have extended right under the cube,
Okay,
right?
got it.
So
Yes,
all
sir.
it was, I think you have to extend the ball at the right hand side, just to the edge of the cube, right?
Okay,
Also, I
all
think
right, sir.
same thing with you have those steps which are going up, right? Into
Yes,
uh,
sir.
on the left hand side. Now those
Yes.
are actually connected only with on the edge. Is
Yeah.
it right? So what you could have done is you could have actually off-centered them. So a cube could have overlapped. So sometimes, of course, there's a grid, then you follow the grid. But you also then beyond the point, what you have to learn to do is overlap the cube. So the cube could overlap a bit, maybe one third. That is so there you may not have a grid line, but you have to visualize. I can show you how. So if I'm doing this, let's say I'm doing this cube. Okay. Are you watching this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
This is my cube, right? This I have followed the lines which are here, already in the grid. But suppose I want to do a smaller cube, I can actually do half of this, right?
Okay. Yes, sir.
And then the other cube, which has to overlap, this cube can be like this. The other cube can start from here. Half.
From that offset which we have made. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right?
Yes, sir.
Then it becomes other, and then it goes other, right? And same thing you do with the other cube. It starts from here. Right?
Okay. Yes,
So
sir.
here offset, so here also it will have to be out. Right?
Right. Okay.
And so then what is happening is this is a cube, right?
Yes, sir.
And this is the other cube. So there is an overlap. So
Mm.
it's basically just to make sure that it follows certain principles of gravity and physics. Right? So there's an
Yes,
overlap.
sir.
So it will be, of course, you will see one side. Okay, so there is an overlap. So everybody knows, okay, it is resting on this. So when I offset this, visually it says this cube is resting on this. Right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
if it is right on the edge, then it looks like where is it resting? It has no rest, no support. It needs some support.
Okay.
So if you do this offset, and similarly, you don't have to follow exactly the same size of the cube. If you want to do this offset, so you can also have something like this, okay? One is like this, so it doesn't have to be a cube. The other one can be like this. If you want to make steps,
Yes, sir.
and then other one can be like this. Okay, so it's one step, right?
Yes. Now there's an offset.
Now this is the steps. So now there is an overlap also, and they keep growing up. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Other one would be again like that over here. So that's how you create steps.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So that of course, before you ink it, you should just simply draw it in pencil and figure out. And even before you plan it, you'll have to figure out how many steps do I want, and therefore how many cubes of distance that I'll. So you
Right.
all the grid, the squares which are here, they can be given. You can assign any scale. So I can say this is 1 inch, or it is 1 foot, or it is 3 inches, or it is 10 centimeters, whatever. Then you just simply say, okay, realistically, a room size I want to show, which is 10 feet by 12 feet. So now I can just proportionately do that. I use the whole paper, and I can say that uh, each of these square is about 2 inches, right?
Right.
3 inches. Okay, so that means for 1 foot, I'll need 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So if it has to be 10 feet, I'll need 40 squares. Now you basically figure out how big is the grid. Accordingly, you can give the proportion. Maybe you should give each square would be 6 inches. So this would be, let's say, 1 foot. 1 foot by
Right.
6. Wall would be about 12 inches. So, and then you just repeat this in terms of this is 1 foot, then you have to say 12. So
Mm.
24 squares will be here. Here it is 15 feet, then 11, 30 squares will be there. So that's how
14
we work
squares.
it out. So use this
Okay.
as a measurement. So once you say this is my measurement, then see how it fits. Similarly, height also you can simply look at each one of the squares. So this is if this is my cube, so I can assign it a size. So if this is, let's say, 1 foot, and this is also 1 foot, and this vertical also is 1 foot. So it's 1 by 1 by 1. So if I want a height, if I want a wall which is 10 feet, then I have to make sure there are 10 of these in terms of height, right?
Yes, sir.
So you just measure. So this is 1, this is 2, 3, 4, like that. And similarly, horizontal, that's 2 axis, XY axis also will do the same thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Have you started the other one?
Yes, sir. I've started with it.
Okay, good. All right. Where have you reached? Are we anywhere close to completing this explanation? The last one. Hello, can you hear me? No. Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, so where is everybody in the last exploration? Are we anywhere close to finishing it? Okay, how could you share anything after this class? Then send it to Mr. Asim and he'll make sure that it reaches me. And I'll try and look at it and give you feedback. Okay? I just want to know where is everybody? Is everybody uh, near completion? How much more time do you need? Another about 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Yes, but how much of time do you need? 10, 15 minutes? Everybody? Where are we? We are at. Okay, so 12:40 is when we actually we try and kind of share some work, whatever it is, everybody's work, and then I'll give a very quick feedback. Later on, of course, you can work on this more and the earlier explorations, and you can improve them, change them, do more extra ones. One think uh, can be more exciting, more interesting. So add more to those. Then you can send them to Mr. Asim, and then he'll forward it to me. Okay. So 12:40 is when we review everybody's work. So that's about 16 minutes. Okay, 2 more minutes for everybody, and then we can actually have any questions, any queries. Is that fine? Who is this? Okay. Why? I know. We only use part of the grid, Siddheshwar? What's happening is you're not able to visualize how different surfaces interact with each other. So when you draw this, can you see my arrow? Will not be able to see my arrow. Will it be? Will they be able to see my arrow? No. Sorry? Okay.
How did you recently demo how where they have you been working? Not for the एक चीज डिटेल बाहर आया है वो ये भी आया है कि
Hello.
no thrust, no this thing totally.
Ah, can you? Yeah, you can speak one by one. So there's apparently a problem now. There's a confusion over here on the left hand side. So when you see, when you actually do the final lines with the marker, you have to make sure that you don't draw lines which are at the back. You don't see them because it's not a transparent object, right? So that's one thing. Other thing is you have to make sure that every element has the thickness. So you'll possibly need to do some more work to figure out how these surfaces interact with each other. So you'll have to maybe spend more time in figuring out the three-dimensionality and the thickness and how it appears. Is it the only one you've done, Siddheshwar? Uh, so can you, the roof is okay, but then if you draw a roof, there'll not be any line in the back. The roof is not transparent. So show one more, whatever you've done. Can you show the other one? Are you showing the other one, Siddheshwar? Anybody else wants to show the next one? The last exploration. This was with the buildings. The other one was to visualize a space with a more realistic kind of an interpretation of spaces and forms. can speak, right? Yeah. You can speak also. Anybody has any comment? Who is yet to finish the last one? How many people have not finished? Can you hear me? I'm not getting any response from you. You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so anybody wants to share? Have you all finished? Are you anywhere close to finishing the second one, or at least somewhere there is a semblance of what it can look like? It may not, you will not be able to finish it, but is it somewhere close to at least what you're trying to visualize?
Mine is not really that close to finishing. I'll send it to Asim sir later.
Whatever it is, just share your work, regardless of what level you reached.
I
Well,
haven't like started the details. I've only got the main layout on the sheet.
okay. So can you share that?
Okay, I'll share it.
Who else? Anybody else? Varun, you wanted 15 minutes. 15 minutes are over. Are you anywhere close to completing it? Or even you got some basic, spatial configuration worked out? That is also okay. Because I know it will take time. You're not doing it, for many, many days. It's the first time you're doing it. So I can understand. I mean, it's quite a challenge, but it's a good start. You have to start somewhere, and as long as you started it and at least figured out some basic spatial configuration as to what you're trying to visualize, that should be okay.
So I'm done with the courses of the part. I'm sharing it with the sir.
Yeah, yeah. Whatever you've done, please share. Because it would take time. I know that it will take some more time. Because you guys are all doing it for the first time. I don't know, 7. So the number has been shared with you where you can, all of you should, share everything that you have done on this, okay? Make sure that you basically submit whatever exploration you have done right from the first assignment till today. That means whatever you've done in last session. Okay, acha, this is whose? This is Varun?
Soumya.
Okay, Soumya, okay. All right.
I
So,
was going with the castle because the previous one which I made, so I just got the inspiration from that. I was going for a castle kind of
okay.
placement, and these pillars were actually going to be some columns that I would add the details,
Yeah,
and a little bit on the inside room as well
all right.
from the
So,
door.
okay, so one of the issues that you'll have to keep in mind is that you have a limited space in your sheet, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you visualize the scale and the size, you have to remember that you should be able to get almost large part of what you're trying to draw in the sheet. So the way it looks like, obviously there is no ceiling at the moment.
Right.
The that little on the left hand side there are two pillars and then I can see a rectangle, right?
Yes.
After the two pillars, if you go further away from the first pillar, then there is a rectangle which is there on the left hand side. Now, in that you actually drawn another rectangle which is of a different orientation. So is that some kind of a wall in which there's a window or something?
No, I was gap in.
Not able to hear you.
I have kept 3 block gap in each of them.
No, I understand that. What I'm saying is, are you, so I'm talking about the drawing which is there uh, on the left hand side, first pillar, second pillar, and then after that there is kind of a doorway, right?
Right.
And that there is inside that there is at the bottom there is a little cube, two cubes, one on top of the other. On top of it there is a window.
Yeah, I was thinking of making either a window or a painting probably over there.
Okay, right. So anyway, now
And
what
that
you need to,
cube would be some kind of a statue. Those 2 cubes on top of each other.
okay, and then you have those in front. You have those three blocks which are rectangular blocks on the ground. What are
Right.
they?
Yeah, so they would be the base of some statue that I was thinking to make, or probably a few more those castle type
All right. Okay. So
stands or
now,
things.
what is
Yeah.
the material now? So if you
Sorry.
actually, what is the material? If you are doing these pillars, let's say with stones, and
Yeah.
that you start drawing those horizontal lines, and whether that each pillar has how many stones horizontally. If it's one single stone stacked on each other, then you make sure that you draw those stones.
Right.
So you have to, you see. So you'll have to figure out how to basically, I'll just show you somewhere if you have your pillar here. This is your pillar. Then one, of course, is like you can say this is one stone. And then that's the other stone. Yeah. Are you seeing this?
Yes, sir.
And then that's the other stone. So they're stacked on each other.
Yes, sir.
That's one way of doing it. Other way of doing it is make it break it down and say they are smaller stones. So you can
Yeah,
actually have
2 stones. Like the one block is one stone and then offsetting the other one on in
that
the
kind of thing,
bottom
yeah,
row.
yeah,
Okay.
something like this. And use half a square in that case,
Right.
like this. There'll be half stone on the corner, and then somewhere similarly you do it this side also. There's a stone here. That kind of a detailing you'll have to do, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that's so you can then you can do little bit of something like that. So looks like the stones, the gaps can be darkened a bit. Like that, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So these are details that you have to do. Okay.
All right, sir.
Then what is this? Okay, Varun. Okay, but now how do you, Varun, the table which is there on the left hand side will have some thickness. vertical. So what I was, I've run out of my grids, but anyway, I'll do it on a plain paper. So you got this table like that, right? When you got these two drawers, supposedly there'll be a thickness here because there'll be a plane. And this will have a thickness, right? This also will have a thickness. And then you'll have your two drawers. And then this will go like this. And then this has to be like this. So that ply is, and then this will be like this, right? That's your, and that's your drawer. Get it? So when you have to imagine, so if this is a plane, you can't just have a line. You have to have a thickness. Like this. Yeah? Who's this? Okay. Okay. Who is this?
It's a emergency.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Looks interesting. Now, actually, think of you still have to finish at the bottom, right? So, what I suggest is draw the pencil lines wherever you want to highlight the contours of the space. And okay, because on the somewhere down the line you don't have all the lines drawn, so I'm not able to figure out. The top is looks like okay, it works okay, and then one on top you have this little door right on the top, right?
Sir, this is a Almira.
No, right on the top, right on the top. Yeah, yeah. So that door, if it's a door, then you'll have to have some kind of a thickness, right? So, so if you have a door like that, okay, whatever maybe, I'm physically showing you the principle. So here, if it's a door, then you'll need a thickness like this. Get it? I'm talking about the top which you draw. Yeah. And then this line is also, you'll see some bit of line there at the back, because this is the floor, this is the wall, right? This is the floor. So if the floor is like that, it may have tiles like that. Yeah. And then this will be the wall. So you'll see a line like this. So this horizontal is vertical. So you'll see a line. And this is the thickness of the door. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else wants to show? The second one. The last one. Anybody? So was it very challenging, the last exploration? Hello. You can all respond. You can speak.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah.
It
So I'm
was a
saying
little
that
difficult.
the one with the building, was it easy or it was that also was challenging for some people?
That was easy and fun.
That was relatively easier. So now you are actually struggling with the one which is to do with imagining a more realistic kind of a space and form, right? But have you actually understood the concept? Have you understood the principles?
Yes, sir.
You understood the principles, right? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Little bit. Who's saying little bit? Soumya.
So I got the main
Yeah,
concept.
see, I know that what I am asking you to do is not going to be easy. The idea is to basically try, and we have very limited time, and the idea was to explain to you how isometric grid can be used to imagine very original and innovative objects, forms. You can also apply it to imagining uh, larger spaces like at an architectural scale. You can also visualize uh, spaces and forms with some amount of indication of materials that can be there, and they can be done simply through line drawings. You can also use color if you want, but even with simple line drawings, which I showed you earlier in the presentation, you can give an idea of stone, bricks, wood, etc. So when you draw wood, there'll be generally some kind of grains which are shown, and the bricks and stones will have, you can always define it in terms of the contours and the way they are, stacked together. You can also use floor. You can draw lines in terms of grids to show floor tiles, right? So uh, the idea is in these two sessions to understand the concept of how isometric grid actually works as a template to visualize relatively complex three-dimensional objects and various elements in them. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, very much.
but you need to try and make sure that you tell yourself to do some more practice with more sheets and explore something which you are satisfied with, something where you actually know that it works very well in terms of its dimensionality. Every line that you draw has to be done very mindfully to make sure that you achieve visually the thickness, the hollow forms, the configurations of each vertical, horizontal, surfaces. These are something which are very important to understand. When you're visualizing objects, it's relatively easy because they are smaller in scale. The moment you go into architectural interpretations, it becomes slightly complex. But all this requires lots and lots of practice. So I think if you really want to actually master some way of imagining original visualizations, of your ideas for whether it's an object or it's an architectural space, you'll need to practice. You'll need to practice more and more. You can always start off with drawing what is in front of you. So you can always look at your own, drawing room, your bedroom, some buildings around. You can also start off with using the same grid. You can start off drawing your mobile phones, your uh, other cuboidal objects which are there, in terms of tables, books, stacks of books, book racks, things like that. So you just see how it is. You try and figure out what are the proportions. You can measure them if you want. And then the grid provides you to calculate those measurements and put them in terms of the proportions of measurements. So you can very easily visualize objects. So it's a very good template and grid, especially when you are challenged with doing freehand drawing. Freehand drawing becomes more difficult because you'll have to have a reasonable control, but grid actually, unlike the freehand drawing, is relatively an easier tool to draw your ideas. Any other questions do you have?
No, sir.
Anybody have any question? Anybody else? Please feel free to ask. And as a student, yeah.
तो जब मैं ड्राइंग कर रहा हूँ तो आई कांट मुझे पता नहीं है कि कहाँ पे कॉन्टूर्स कहाँ पे शैडोज कैसे यूज करना है
नहीं, अभी
तो
शेडोज का आप मत सोचिए। अभी आपको सोचना है कि फॉर्म क्लोज हो रहा है कि नहीं। मैं सिंपल आपको दिखाता हूँ, 1 मिनट तो जरा लगता है। तो मुझे कुछ भी बनाना है, सपोज फॉर्म पूरा, मैं एक ये इरेजर बना रहा हूँ, ठीक है। ठीक है। तो इरेजर में एक तो वर्टिकल लाइन होता है, ये लाइन होता है हॉरिजॉन्टल, बाद में फिर से वर्टिकल लाइन होता है। तो दिस इज जस्ट अ प्लेन, इट्स अ प्लेन, इट हैज नो डायमेंशन, इट्स गॉट only 2 dimensions, it's not a 3-dimensional object, right? It doesn't have a third dimension. Third dimension यहाँ होता है, right? Only when I do this, then I get a third dimension. So when you want to have something which is depicted in 3 dimension, I have to extend this, right? So simple thing is, suppose I draw in isometric grid, this is a vertical is anyway there in the grid, and there are horizontal, right? This is what it is. Now this actually is a square, but when you look at it in isometric, it becomes like a rhombus. Now, if I want to give a 3 dimension, I have to extend it. Now, how much I extend will depend, will be determined by what is the length it has in this way. So suppose it's a cube, then I just do the cube which is there in the isometric, right? Now, if it's more than the cube, then I have to go on extending it like that. So then I have it like this, right? This is not there. Can be as long as possible. Same thing with vertical. So if I have this square, so it can be just one cube. Or if it has to be a pillar, how tall is the pillar? So again, you can measure it in terms of number of cubes that you want to have. What is important, if I just do this, this is not complete because it does not have this dimension. It has the height, it has the width. It does not have the depth. For depth, this is something which you have to remember. So when you look at all this, you have to make sure that anything that you draw must have all these 3 dimensions. Yes?
Yes.
Get an idea? So whenever you see drawn something, make sure that you have the width, you have the breadth, right? Now this is what it is. It has the width and the breadth. It does not have the length. The length would be vertical. Depends whichever you want to call length. These 3 things can be interchanged. Width, length, and breadth. Right? So this is how you actually create. So make sure that you have this closes this and this becomes a complete box. Got an idea?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
So make sure, so what is happening with a lot of your drawings is you've drawn something like this. This is just, I'm just showing. Okay. Now all this is correct. I have done it right. Now this is hanging. This has got the length and the width. It does not have the depth. Then this is not complete. It requires this. Now this, how is it as wide as this, or is it only half? So if it is as wide as this, then this has to come like this has to come like that, and this has to be like that. Then यहाँ तक आएगा. If it's only half, it's still here. Right? So now, when I do this, if this and this is the same size, same plane, then this line will not show. Then it will be like this, right? Get this? So this is any surface which is same level, then it will be, there will not be a break, there will not be a line here. Right? You get this? This is one surface. This is all one surface. Yes?
Yes, sir.
So you have to make sure that every form is complete. It has got all three dimensions. So whenever you have this hanging lines, you can't make a door like this. You can't say this is a door. Because it has to have some depth, right? So depth is here inside. This becomes, and if this is the floor, this is the floor, then this floor will continue here. But then this floor continues, but then there is a wall here. So then you'll actually see this like this.
Yes,
And then this cannot float like this. It has to have a depth, right? Yes. You get this idea?
yes, sir. I got you.
So basically, it's more about how you're able to, clearly see the planes and the solids, right? So three-dimensionality in form will require length, width, and breadth. All these three things are there. So otherwise, length, width, and depth. So if I say this is length, sorry, this is width, this is length, this is height, or I can call it height. This is width, and this is depth. So this is depth, how deep it is, how wide it is, how high it is. And then of course, if I did not draw this line, then it doesn't mean anything. It does not show three-dimensionality. But I do this, so if it is like this, so either it is a closed form, or if this is like this, then it has to have a thickness. So I can say it's an inverted C. And then if it is like this, then I have to do this. So it's an inverted C which is here. Yeah, you get it?
Yes, sir.
Right. So now so this You don't have this floating line. Single lines in animation do not work. You have to give it a thickness. So thickness can be as thick or it can be even thinner. So suppose I do this, then a thickness can be very thin, it can be very thin level. Now this itself is not complete because this cannot be floating ladder. This is not a line, it's a plane. So like here, this is one plane and this plane has to be completed like this. Now you can say this is there. Same thing if I have to do it in a different kind of a configuration. Same thing I'm drawing in a different configuration. So this is, I'm looking at it at the back. Now this is same thing I'm drawing. It's a kind of a section. Now this has to have this. This has to have this. And this has to be vertical and this has to have this. So this how actually goes like this, standing on this surface. Now I put it and turned it and put it. This is now touching the ground. This surface is touching the ground. In this is touching the ground. This, it's standing, right? Get this idea?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is how you visualize. Make sure that you draw something, it has a thickness, it has all the surfaces. If this was a single line, it will not communicate what it is. So the idea is to make sure that when you draw something, it also must communicate what it is. Yes? That does it give you some clarity?
Yes, sir.
So all of you will submit all your work from the first exploration that we did in the last session. We did 2 of them, okay, last time. One simple object, then we did something more complex. Some of you have submitted that. Actually, some of you have shared that. And then today we did 2 of those. One is cluster of buildings. That is one. Other is more realistic interpretation of a space, interior, or even an exterior. It doesn't matter. So these are 4 things that I would like you all to send to Mr. Asim. He has shared the number. And I hope you guys will be excited to continue to explore this isometric grid and really improve and develop your skills of visualization. Why am I able to do this? Which I am able to do is because what I am drawing is actually something which is happening as a clear idea of what I want to draw. So visualization is what happens in your head, in your mind. And that is very important. So more and more practice and exploration in drawing actually help you to become more and more, effective at visualizing forms and spaces. So you will actually be able to visualize dimensionality, the depth, the characteristics, the materials, etc. But it needs a lot of practice. So will you all be game for some more practice in your spare time?
Yes, sir.
And drawing does not require special effort. You can actually sit in a cafe with a sketchbook. You can be gossiping about anything. You can be chit-chatting. You can be discussing. At the same time, your hand and mind can continue to work. You don't need to have a special time for drawing. Drawing can happen anytime as long as you have a surface on which you can put your paper. If you're carrying a sketchbook with a hard back, then you can also hold it in your hand and draw. And especially if you have isometric grid, it's much easier to, draw, because then you don't need to worry about references. The references are already available in terms of the grid. So I hope you guys will continue and explore more and more, and eventually develop what I would call your not only your visualization but representation skills. There are two things which are important in any kind of creative expression and design specifically. One is that you should be able to visualize what you want to uh, make or communicate or put across in terms of any environment, etc., or object. Second is, much before it's made, it has to be communicated. So even before you make it, you'll have to share your ideas. So drawings work in two ways. One is your ability to visualize what your idea is. Secondly, to communicate to others what your idea looks like. So these are two aspects which are very critical to design. And more you practice, more and more effective you will become in your ideation, your visualization, your imagination, and also the way you'll be able to represent your ideas to others. So with that, shall we conclude? Any other questions you have?
No, sir.
So all the very best and continue to explore. And I hope you have enjoyed this sessions.
Yes, sir.
Anything
Thank you, sir.
anything you want to suggest which can make these sessions better?
No, sir, I think they are all fine.
You're fine.
Yes, sir. They are
Okay.
very good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. So I hope you'll continue to work more and more and get some isometric grids printed as a start, because that will help you to at least not worry about controlling the lines and the line quality, because you have the grid. And wishing you all the best and enjoy your holidays till you join us. And wishing you lots and lots of drawings and explorations. All the very best.